Okay.
Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween. So good to see you all. And let's go ahead and get started tonight. So we will start with our usual introductions and icebreaker. So in honor of the what has been called the gayest holiday of the year. Let's our icebreaker is name a memorable costume. If you don't celebrate or dress up for Halloween, then it could be a costume for anything else, a play or whatever. So so we say our name that we want to be called here and our pronouns and then the answer. So I am Carol, she, her, and I have done quite a few of Halloween costumes with various feline um, manifestations. I guess that shows the Leo in me. And so the first one, I guess, was I thought it was a very well done themed Halloween party at one of my friend's house back, many decades ago. That was like a Wizard of Oz theme, and so I was the Cowardly Lion, and it's just had many variations on lions and cats and things in other years. So, oh, and Tigger one year, so that counts too. That's feline. So, all right, Suzette.
Suzette and she, her are my pronouns. And the only costume I can remember, every year when I was in elementary school, we had a parade and a costume contest, and of course I was in that. And I dressed up as the Tooth Fairy. Not sure why. But I was in ballet and I had a purple tutu. And so I was the tooth fairy in a purple tutu, picture that, with I took a baton that I had. I think I was in some kind of twirling, and I made a cutout of a tooth and I stuck the tooth on the end of the baton. And I thought it was good enough to win first place, but it didn't go that way for me. But
Aw.
so the tooth fairy it is. Gay.
All right, Kim.
My name is Kim, she, her. I remember we were kind of poor growing up. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. There were 5 kids in our family. And so at Halloween, my mom would sometimes dress some of us up as hobos. And we'd wear clothes that were like too big for us, like my stepfather's old clothes or something, and shoes. And my mom smoked, and she would put ashes on our face to make us look like we're a dirty hobo, that's been living in the streets for a while. So that's what I remember the most.
Oh my gosh.
I love.
All right, Jared.
Let me see. My favorite costume that I remember doing. I mean, last year I was a piñata, so like that was fun. Being a piñata. Too many people that I didn't know were offering to hit me with sticks. I'm American. I can't. Mm-mm. But like it was really cute. I had a good time. A lot of my nieces and nephews on my husband's side of the family had a really good time because they were like, "Yeah, I want to hit you." I'm like, it was like more than usual, it seems. So
I, I like your Day of the Dead. I can see part of your mask there, and I know we Marco and I used to, or Marco used to be involved in Day of the Tread races, which had a Day of the Dead theme on a bicycle. And oh, you light up and everything. Anyway, I love to get that kind of makeup and everything. I did that big one year, but anyway, so that's, are you gonna celebrate Dia de los Muertos?
Oh yes, right behind you, like on your camera, like is actually our altar. So yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, excellent.
Mhm.
Do you have specific people that you're, that
Yes.
you,
We have my lolo, which is my grandfather in Tagalog. And my Greg, I like to call them my grand suegro and my grand suegra, because it have the word for it. But that's my my grandmother on Leo's side, grandmother-in-law and grandfather-in-law, are all there with what is it, all the religious figures. We got Michael, we got Mary, we got was it that one what is it, Aztec god person, right? Jesus, right over there, right? It's a cute little hodgepodge.
okay, awesome. All right, Kreger.
I'm Kreger. Pronouns are he, they. And the last time I dressed up for Halloween was probably 2001 or 2002 when I thought I used to be an avid fan of Star Trek The Next Generation with Captain Picard and the crew. And a very popular character on that program was the Borg, and the Borg was going to assimilate all the human beings, and you would just, so it was kind of like a half robot, half machine. And I spent like 4 hours in makeup, and by God, when I was done, I looked like a Borg. And then I went out to like JR's and all these places in Montrose that night, and people were like, "What are you?"
Oh,
And I'm like, "I'm a Borg. What's that?" And I was like, okay, so I guess like football, like the NFL, I was like one of the gays that just likes football and Star Trek Next Generation out here all by myself. And it turned out to be like 85 degrees that night, and the makeup started to sweat and roll off my face. It was just awful, awful. That was the
oh,
last time I dressed up.
oh.
And on Sunday this year, this Sunday at Uprising, we are celebrating my brother Jim, who passed away on April 17th of this year.
Mm,
So Karen requested pictures for people who have died within the last year, because I think last year people were just flooding in pictures of anyone who's ever died, and the collage got to be too big and too long. So
yeah, I get that. Well, I think I'll take a little point of privilege and just tell you a little bit about Marco. I don't know what he would answer about his favorite costume, because we've done some elaborate ones, all homemade with like cardboard boxes around his wheelchair. Well, I think one of the best was Bob the Builder in Scoop. So the wheelchair was Scoop, and oh my gosh, that one turned out really good. He's been a fireman in a fire truck. He's been a pirate in a pirate ship. All kinds of fun things like that. But my favorite costume was when he was the first Halloween after I adopted him. One of the first things that happened when I met him, the girl that told me about him, showed me how he liked to go upside down. So I would just get him in my arms with his head like here, and we would just go down, and he would giggle and laugh. He would just laugh so much. So I made him a little bat costume, and he was, I could still pick him up easily, and we used a stroller back then, not a wheelchair. So I just sewed some little wings on a sweatshirt, and I knew he wouldn't tolerate keeping a mask on, so I just used an eyeliner pencil and drew a little bat on his face. And I would go to the houses and pick him up, and he would go upside down, and his little wings would open, and it was just so cute. I loved it anyway.
That's really
That
adorable.
was one of the
How old was Marco when he came into your life?
He was not quite 3.
Oh,
We got to choose a birth date, so that's so we could be a little off, but we're pretty close.
very
So anyway, so tonight we've got the election coming up next Tuesday. So I wanted to just kind of, we've had lots of discussions about some of the political issues that are involved in this election. Ecology, economy, justice for very different groups. But I want to kind of just see what else we haven't talked about. We've talked some about voting rights. It wouldn't hurt to talk a little bit more about just the voting process, the electoral college and all that. But I know Jared made a comment at one point about how Obama what were you?
Yes. I was really, really pumped about Barack Obama being the first African American president, as an African American male, right? Specifically a biracial African American male. I'm half Black, half Filipino, right? And I loved the representation and it gave, but and I think, right, my expectations, right, for what that meant became, were a little bit unrealistic because I expected a lot of I expected a like a lot more change than what actually occurred, right? I was grateful for the gay rights, of course, right? But like, like I've always we've had this discussion before. Y'all know how I feel about genocide, and like just and actual war, right, and destruction. And I always had I always disliked America's foreign policy. It's always been my least favorite thing about this entire country. And so, my expectation was like, well, like perhaps maybe some change. Perhaps we're not going to be harming people in periods of in different lands, right? Or if we are, perhaps he's going to spread more awareness and speak out against what's going on in all these places, like Gaza, right? At the time period, it was like the Gaza Strip was getting bombed, right? And I was very disappointed because it was business as usual, right? And that really bummed me for the I was really depressed by the what is it, the presidential process, the governmental electoral process for a while. And then I met my husband, and he informed me about like the immense privilege that it is to be able to still participate. Because I mean, like when you have a criminal record or whenever you aren't necessarily legal yet, right? Which takes upwards to 20 years, by the way. Right? Like right? Like you can't, you don't have a voice. Like like you can't. If you wanted to vote in a local election, which I always knew mattered, right? Like that, I'm, to this day, I know those are the most important elections because local policies, they directly affect our lives. You couldn't even do anything when you have corrupt people and that are making choices that are representing your people. So yeah, like it took a lot to dissuade me from the sadness that I experienced right after I experienced the presidency of Barack Obama, the dual presidencies. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you mentioned the immigration policy, so I think I was a little disappointed that was just business as usual too.
Yeah.
Suzette, you had your hand up?
Oh, I'm just wondering, like, I think that maybe some of these the candidates that we have maybe go into this with, you know, the best of intentions, and then they find out the reality of what they're fighting against, and they pick a battle, or they pick their battles and try to work that. And I don't disagree with you. I think that our foreign policy is absolutely lacking in with respect to how we treat people coming into this country. And you know, I was part of that conversation of the island of garbage floating in the middle of the, or in the Atlantic. I come from Cuban and Puerto Rican heritage. And because I have blonde hair and green eyes doesn't mean anything. My grandmother spoke no my great grandmother spoke no English. Her son, my grandfather, was bilingual Spanish, but he was not great English. But I have cousins that live in Puerto Rico still, on both sides, my mom and my father's side of the family. So that hurt me a lot. For it was just too close to home. And being from New York, you know, where, you know, there's the Statue of Liberty in the middle of in the middle of the water there in New York, that, you know, give me your poor, your, you know, your downtrodden, your, what happened to that? Where did that go? Why is that no longer a thing that we talk about or think about? So that, in addition to the horrors that you're seeing, that we see in other respects, makes me really sad about how we treat other people who are coming into this country. So again, since even though I'm American and blonde haired and green eyed, I still have a very closely aligned Cuban, Puerto Rican American family, and it affected me. I'll just say that it did really affected me. So anyway, I hear you.
What's the do your are your Puerto Rican relatives able to vote in?
Yeah.
Do they,
Yeah.
is that's been hello?
They are citizens. They are United States voting people.
Yeah, that
And
but it wasn't what, let's see, what year was that recognized? Because it wasn't it
it
it's
might as well be the 51st state. I mean, it's I don't understand the government side of it, but they have as many rights and privileges as citizens, but they're not recognized in that way. And I don't understand all of it, but anyway, I'm just saying that, you know, in my generation, I still have family that's there, and that's where my half of me came from. So it didn't really go well for me when I heard all. I was in absolute disbelief.
yes.
What's
That they
really
let that happen.
what's painful about all of that to me is probably at least half of this country, half of the people in this country are going along with that. You know, they're going along with the person who, you know, never takes accountability or ownership of ever having made a single problem in his life, and has speakers on stage at his uh, rallies telling these horrible jokes, and half the country is going along with it. Now that's what's really sad to me, and because there's a good chance we're going to wake up next Wednesday with the golden with the golden one as president. And so now it reminds me of all these people that are always telling me, well, God's got it. All right, well, if God's got it, and the orange one wins, then God has a plan that you and I aren't seeing. We have no clue then what the plan is. So we'll see what happens, but we are really going to have to put our faith where our mouth is next week, potentially, and figure out who is God now.
I've had people ask me if I voted. People, I mean, I know them, but like they're Facebook messaging me, "Have you voted yet?" Like it's really important that you vote. And I got postcards this year, and you know, so I know there's a grassroots effort happening, and I hope and I pray, I hope and I pray that that those people that I think are hearing all this garbage are really able to process it in the right ways. That's my prayer. And it's really
And in
making
terms
me.
of what we're seeing here in Texas, Carol, really the only thing going on here is the race between Ted Cruz and um, Colin Allred, because so many
Incredibly
people here
important.
have, you know, Trump is ahead like 53 to 47. So they're not even wasting ad time, at least in Austin, for the presidential race. But all Ted Cruz can continue those commercials against Colin Allred have nothing to do with the economy. They have nothing to do with, you know, inflation. You know, it's all about, oh, he voted to have boys and girls bathrooms. I'm like, still the Republicans are attacking on this issue that affects less than 2% of the overall population, and hitting on the fear of the white voter, you know, with these horrendous ads. And you know, if Colin Allred could somehow come out the winner of this election, I will probably fall to the ground and cry tears. I just you know, I just don't think it's going to happen, you know, but if it does, you know, that to me would be, that would really be something.
I got a postcard from Ted Cruz from Cancun. It was hilarious.
Kim, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I have I guess my problem with this is that I don't understand. I'm a woman, and I don't understand how women can be so attracted to these men that are trying to take away our rights, because that's basically what they're doing. They're saying, we want to control your body, we want to control you. You know, now we're going to keep tabs on you to make sure that you're doing what we want you to do. I don't understand how any woman can go along with that. And then I just heard on the news right before I came on, this one woman said that what Trump said the other day doesn't bother her. It was a joke, you know, and I'm thinking, what kind of people are these? It just breaks my heart because, I mean, I've been saving my money, so I just might move down to Costa Rica or something, you know, or somewhere else. I don't know, but it's getting bad here, you know. But they do show the presidential election stuff here in Houston, though. I have seen a lot of Harris and Trump ads in Houston. So, but yeah, I just don't understand it. I don't understand what kind of even people, not just women, but people in general who would follow something like that. You know, I mean, he has no regard for the human race, I think. I think
Well,
he just doesn't
that's a very
care.
good point. I'm glad you took that from women to humans, because I mean it's a small step. It's a small step. I mean, trying to control women's bodies, trying to erase trans reality, trans people, just really ignoring gay people altogether. I mean, it's just you know, anybody that's opposed seems to be a target. So I think Kreger said it best with, you know, vote for love, vote for the one who speaks love and speaks truth, and the truth will set you free. I haven't really been watching. I have purposely not tuned in to like the polls or anything about what's predicted. Does anybody wanna?
Me either. No, because I
Gregor,
just,
you sound a little pessimistic about the
well,
process.
no,
Right?
I've already voted. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm done. And I wish all of it would just stop because I'm done, right? So all I have to do is sit and wait until next Wednesday morning to see how long it's going to take, how many days, how many paper ballots are going to have to be counted before we actually know who won, and is it going to go to the Supreme Court and all this other stuff. So yeah, I'm done with the process, and I'm ready for it all to stop. But I'm in a better place actually now than I was in 2020. So because having dealt with the issues I've dealt with this year, like my brother's death and my own heart issues, and thinking I might have a heart attack any minute and die. When you go through stuff like that, I'm like, okay, if the orange one wins, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay unless they actually get guns and start rounding up the gays like they did back in Germany and made everyone wear pink, which could happen. But um, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to have to find my faith a little bit more, but yeah, I'm trying to plan for that just in case it happens. I'm trying to think, who am I going to be, next Saturday if the orange one is the president? I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out quickly.
I saw something posted on Facebook from someone I just recently friended. It says you can love LGBTQ plus people all you want, but if you are actively supporting candidates that work to eradicate the rights and equality of LGBTQ plus people, you're not an ally, even if you have LGBTQ friends or family. So I just thought that was like it's making me rethink some of my friendships I have now, because they tell me that they don't know that I'm not out to them, so they don't know my story. But and I've known them for like 14 years, and I still haven't told them because of their views. And so it's making me think: are they really my friend? I mean, they could say they love you, or they could say they support the community, but if they're pro this person that is wanting to get rid of all of us, basically, or our rights, what kind of friend is that? I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I do believe that wholeheartedly. I just agree with that. I just don't understand how you could say you love this person, but we want to eradicate you anyway. You know what I
It's
mean?
a basic human rights issue. It's not even abortion, and I mean those are the layers of the onion, but it is a basic human rights issue. We deserve, we're equal to you. We deserve to be, human just like you. So that's the part that scares me. But I wanted to share with y'all, I live in MAGA country and I got this shirt today and it says, not aspiring to be humble. And it's got all these powerful women on it. And I was like, oh, I love that shirt so much. I'm going to wear it somewhere. And I thought, not to the grocery, not to the grocery store because I will get shot.
Oh my goodness!
Like,
Show some of the women again.
I've never
Hold it up.
I couldn't do
I was
that.
reading the caption and wasn't looking at the faces.
Yeah.
Hold it up again.
It says not aspiring to be humble.
And I said,
And it's all powerful women, in our history.
Annie Richards is on.
Yeah. And
Speaking of local politics,
where can I wear that shirt? Not around here, because it would be a controversial thing. I'd probably, just like the people who threw paint on the people who wore real fur,
oh yeah.
I would get something thrown on me.
Ann Richards was the first political campaign I ever really worked on. And so I was living in Galveston back then. Anyway, that's an interesting memory.
I
Well,
loved her.
Yeah. Yeah, she was awesome. And to be a Democrat in a red state is a pretty tough position to be in. So we'll see what happens with the Texas races as well as the sometimes I've talked to a surprising number of people. I talked to some younger people recently, and I was just like, have you voted yet? And they were like, oh, I guess I should do that. I was like, what? Yes, you should, of course. What do you mean? Yes, I guess I should do that. Yes, get out there, do it now. So I mean, don't hesitate to bring it up to people, because there are people who can still be influenced to get out there when they haven't. So Marco is gonna vote on election day, since he's only getting back to town on Monday. So update on that. We did get him registered. We didn't get a mail-in ballot in time, but we asked when I went to vote today with Marco's caregiver. She was gonna just go vote on Tuesday with him, but we decided that the line situation was so much better. So so he's gonna go vote on Tuesday, and we asked how that worked, and they said, yes, anybody can help him with his ballot. So, and I did look everything up, and there were some things, some local issues, some bonds and things like that that were kind of hard to understand. So I'll go over some of those with him, but there were some I really had a hard time deciding on, because there was good pro and con measures. But anyway, but not too much on the ballot that was, except for uncontested people. There wasn't too much on there besides the it's not like the Ted Cruz all red issue in Texas. We didn't have a whole lot of controversy on our ballot. So do y'all know what else is on the ballot in your area besides those big elections?
Yeah, there was there's like 3 propositions. Specifically, one of them was, I think, like, was it 2 of them were for the school districts?
Yeah, 2 of them were for the school districts. But I personally didn't agree with those, because the media tried to hide the death of that kid that died during the summer, during the hot months, and they try to hide the story that the school had no AC for months, and they never fixed the AC, and all that the media put out there, it said that a kid had been rushed to the hospital and that his condition was unknown, and then later on that he was deceased. But as far as the superintendent, because the state took over, what they've been doing is that they've been taking funds from Houston schools and sending them to another state, or just taking those funds and applying it to like other charter schools. So I'm like, no, like, I voted against it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, whenever you have people in position of power that aren't, doing their job, because and you have a proposition that says give them more money, give them a raise.
Oh, I see. So it doesn't really go to the schools, it just goes to the superintendent.
People who run the schools,
Mhm.
right? Like it.
Oh.
The proposition, girl, it ain't what it say it is, right? And like that, they did a good job at framing the propositions to where, like, you need income tax, and
Yeah.
your was it property taxes go up or whatever.
Even the ads,
Yeah.
even the ads say, oh, vote for proposition A and B so that your kids can have AC, and so that we can remove lead paint from the schools. I'm like, lead paint was a thing in the 60s. What do you mean we still have lead paint in 2024?
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, y'all are, like, we see the funds that y'all are already
Yeah.
getting to
So
do
I'm
that,
like,
and
no.
you have
Or if there still is lead paint, how have those kids been sitting in that school since the 1960s with the lead paint?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
We
Wow.
had a couple of school proposals in Austin too, but we also voted for Austin mayor. We had a lot of uh, county judge seats. I think there was 1 or 2 seats on the Texas Supreme Court that was up, uh, and 1 congressman. So yeah, it took me almost 10 minutes, or maybe a little over 10 minutes, to get through the whole ballot here, because it was longer than what I had expected. So I had to read it carefully, and yeah, so yeah, there was some unexpected stuff on there.
What's it like at Texas polls? I mean, we don't have to show ID or a voter card or anything like that here. We just give our name and address, and then we sign on the little electronic thing. And like I said, they were very, very friendly. They explained in detail just how we could work with Marco. Everything was very friendly and open. There was no wait today at the for early voting. But the room was, all the stands were pretty much full. So what's it like in Texas?
You have 1 of 7, or you can bring but you have to have at least 1 of 7 pieces of identification to bring. So I brought my voter registration card and my driver's license. So yeah, and so you can't just walk in and say, "Hi, I'm Craig, and I live over here in Austin." They're like, "No, not in Texas." They passed all these laws in the last 2 or 3 years that make it harder for people to vote. So
Right.
You really have to want it. But I'm proud to say that I voted in every single election since the day I turned 18. And yes, when I was 18, I did vote for Ronald Reagan, the original "Let's Make America Great Again." People don't remember. See, that's another thing that's bothered me about Donald Trump since 2016, is he's just ripping off Ronald Reagan. And people's memories are so short in this country that they don't even remember that that was Ronald Reagan's tagline that won him 2 presidencies. "Let's make America great again."
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have to admit, I voted for Ronald Reagan too. I think that might have been the last, I don't know.
I mean, it was a landslide. The polls closed at 7 o'clock, and I was at a band job. I was playing drums for a living then, and I remember being at the dinner club, and the polls in the East and Midwest were both closed by 7 o'clock, and like by 7:10, they were already calling the election for Reagan over Carter, because it was just like, I think it was like 70 to 30%. It was a landslide. We should be so lucky to have that this coming Tuesday, and so we wouldn't have any discussion about fraud and all that. If we could get 62% of the vote, that would be like enough, I think, for them to shut up. And but if it's 51, 48, or 50, it's.
I read about let me look up the name of it real quick. It's called something new that states can do. There's something, some states have taken steps toward joining the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which is not as radical of a step as abolishing the Electoral College, and does not, and it's a state vote. It's not a it's not a federal change, but it does help. And what that does is, if enough states elect to join that, then a state that joins it can decide that your electoral vote doesn't just reflect just the area that it's supposed to come from. You know, it's not like just the whole state. Your state can vote to say, okay, our electoral vote is going to, we're gonna tell our electoral representative to cast their vote for whoever wins the popular vote instead of the state vote. If we were to ever get rid of the electoral college, which I don't think there's enough momentum for us to see that kind of legislation, it takes so much percentage of Congress as well as percentage of states. But it would really change the landscape. It would have, swing states wouldn't exist. The candidates would be campaigning for the whole country, for individual votes, not.
You know, things are a lot different now too than when they came up with the electoral college, because most of the population now lives in cities, and most of the population lives in large cities like Houston and San Francisco and New York. And but let's face it, land doesn't vote. North Dakota, you know, Clark County in North Dakota doesn't vote. Maybe the 10 people that live there do, but land doesn't vote. So is the electoral college still fair in terms of, would the city people really pass legislation and whatnot that harms the people that are still living in places like Brady, Texas, population 5,300?
Oh,
Would
that's
that
where
really
my daddy
happen?
went to
Or,
high school. That's where my dad.
you
My dad
know,
went to high school in Brady, Texas.
who's from there?
My dad went to school there. He lived, pretty far from any school, any
I love
town.
Brady. I do. But that's the whole thought process behind electoral college, is that we don't want the city people, you know, disproportionately telling country people how to live, or, you know, have all the assets
And
go towards
why
the
was
city.
that established in the first place? Why was that important to somebody in the first place?
Well,
Who
because
do?
100 years ago, we didn't have massive populations in these big cities the way we do now.
Yeah,
People
but
have just
why did they
flocked.
want rural people to have the same? It was plantation owners.
Yes.
Plantation owners. That's why they wanted the electoral college. They said, we can control the vote in our districts, in our states. So we want our state to have the same say as the more urban states or the more urban districts. So that's why the electoral college, that's my understanding of history. You can disagree with me if you have a different understanding, please say so. But I believe that's why the electoral college was established, because the plantation owners wanted to keep the power that they had before the Civil War.
Well, I've been to Germany twice, and it's a lovely place, and they have taken in an awful lot of, you know, over the decades when we've had the problems in what is it, not the Middle East, but, you know, they've taken in a lot of Turkish people and Kurds, and, you know, all these people, all these people of darker skin now are accepted and actually quite welcome in Germany. And I'm thinking, you know, if things get, Paul knows how to speak German. My husband speaks fluent German, so I could get by if if we were to move over there.
I've had friends talk about lots of places, Portugal, of course, Costa Rica. That was always back in
Yeah.
2016. That was the popular one that everybody talked about. And but yeah, there's lots of places, but I can't see any ability to move. However, I could maybe figure out how to be a hermit and live off grid.
It's just very important to always be mindful of the fact that Jesus Christ wasn't born in a time where the president was an amazing person.
Oh my gosh, Jared, thank you for that reminder. Thank you. So,
That's what I keep telling my friends. I'm like, read the words that actually came out of Jesus' mouth, the words that they're saying, whoever wrote the Bible, the words that they're saying actually came out of Jesus' mouth. And if you go read them over and over again, if Jesus isn't a socialist, I don't know what kind of political name they would tie to him in this day and age. Because he was like, rich people, you need to give up some of what you got so that everybody can have a little piece of the pie, you know? And
yeah, Jesus definitely fought the status quo, that's for sure. Did you, were you finished with what you were saying? I didn't mean to interrupt.
who, me?
Yes.
I'm even willing to pay more taxes. I have enough. I live a life of abundance. My car is from 2012, but it's paid for and it still runs. So do I need a new car? No, I work at home. I drive to CVS and HEB on Friday and get stuff I need. And then Paul drives me on Saturday to whatever restaurant we want to go to. We take my car. But I'm saying that I have a heart of abundance. And so I wouldn't even mind paying a little more if I didn't have to go to every stoplight in Austin and see someone with their cup out. If we could just say all human beings at the very least deserve a roof over their heads and food to eat and clothes to wear. If we could just say that, not that that it has to be all extravagant, but if we could just, this is, I think, what Jesus was after. Every single human being, by virtue of being born into this world, deserves food, shelter, and clothing, regardless of whether they work for it or not.
How did we ever get to the point where homelessness was outlawed? How can it be a crime to be homeless? How can that be? I mean, that's just the complete opposite of where we need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got to focus on giving ourselves a lot of compassion in this coming week, and I think you've given us some good reminders about keeping the faith no matter what happens, and just realizing that we're not in this alone.
Craig, you decided what you're gonna do if the orange man doesn't win?
If he doesn't win,
Huh?
if he doesn't win, I just think it's going to be, it's going to be a truly good crowd on the mall when the swearing in happens, because this will be the first time a woman is president. So it's going to be a big crowd. And then I just kind of see, I see being able to actually watch the evening news and not have someone on there ranting and raving about how everyone's done them wrong and they're going to go after this one and go after that one. So I kind of see, I see what I'm hoping for is a period of more peaceful. We're still going to have the other side squawking and ranting and raving, but just hopefully it'll be, after it settles down, it'll be a little more peaceful, a little easier to. I mean, okay, like I said last week, my next door neighbor is a big Trumpster and we get along just great. I'm like, why doesn't the TV come and do an interview for us? Because we're two Americans. We get along like peas in a pod, but you're red and I'm blue. How do we do it? We stay off each other's case about these, sensitive issues. Because, I ask, what do you want? She wants to be loved. I want to be loved. And so we all American, we all want the same things. It's just that we're coming at it from two completely different angles. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that we just can't put the axe down and just be friends. Let's just be friends. Let's decide. Let's make a commitment to be friendly.
There certainly are people on opposite sides who want the same things, but there are definitely people who want different things. There are people
Yeah.
who want to
Or
hang on
let
to
the people
wealth
that get
and
out that they
power
want to fight,
and
you know, let
yeah,
them bear arms and get out there and do it. But the camera should also be put on like people like me and my neighbor that want to get along in spite of these big differences.
yeah. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Civilized.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Civilized.
exactly right. It's called civilization. When I grew up in the 1960s, politics was civilized. John Kennedy, um,
Like
uh,
it.
what's his name? He was the president. Oh, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Linden.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff that I don't know. I just watched that
Scandal.
movie
It
about
got nasty during the Nixon years, and then after Nixon, it just went completely you know, everything changed after Watergate.
yeah, but
Now,
sometimes civilization just means things are swept under the rug.
Right.
Yeah, there's issues that
That also we create space to, you know, like be uncomfortable with one another, right? Like, and have those uncomfortable conversations, right? And model that it's okay to be like, I don't have to like you. Like, I don't have to respect your opinion. Like, I don't have to, you know, like, it's okay to exist in a state of discomfort, in a state of anxiety, in a state of like all these uncomfortable emotions that come with you are looking at me and we don't agree on everything, right? Like being able to voice that and have that conversation too, so important too, because otherwise you get the all that's happening is just an expose of all the things we swept under the rug, right? From the ditties to the, you know, like all the documented killings that are occurring in the Middle East, right? Like on TikTok, right? Like it's all it is. It's just an expose. So I mean, it's just really important that we, you know, get comfortable because the truth is coming to light. These conversations are happening, whether you like them or not. And so it's being
My big experimental feeling and desire would be to take all the money away from those people and take all the money away from us, and we would be equal, and then see who survives, see who is civilized and doesn't create chaos in order to win. You know, there's no slave labor, there's no, you know, there's no Chinese labor. It's equal. You know, I think we would have a totally different political system if that ever happened, because I think money drives everything. Everything.
and especially the elections. And I looked up, there are quite a number of democratic countries who have taken very specific measures to decrease that, like putting very specific low caps on campaign contributions at all, allowing no corporate
Insane.
contributions, giving candidates the same amount of money for advertising.
Just running on your own merit
Yeah,
with no.
and there are quite a lot of countries who have done that, and we could too. So that's not quite the same as what you were talking about, but it's a step in getting money out of the election process, and I would
Political.
do that. But who knows what'll happen? What are y'all gonna do on Tuesday? Are you gonna be sitting in front of the TV watching the results? I don't think I can.
I'm gonna try not to because I'll just go crazy, I think. If I try to watch, I'd just rather wake up the next morning and be surprised.
But it's not going to be over in the next morning.
Well,
Yeah.
probably not, but close enough, I think. I mean, there'll be some races that are decided. You know, there might be some here in Texas that are decided by the next morning, and
Maybe.
which I'm
Sure.
hoping for. You know, I know the president one, he'll probably just fight that till January 20th if, you know, he doesn't like win or whatever. So yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. But I just want to say, let's all keep each other in our prayers, and really everybody take care of yourself, and you know, just do what you can to stay sane and stay calm. And just remember that you're not alone, and that we've got a great God who's with us no matter what. I really don't think that that we can say, you know, God makes the decision. I don't think that's how it works. I think God uses our actions to you know, I think we're just all called to help bring about the kingdom. Um, and I think God gives us free will. So, but I do think that God is with us no matter what.
So Pastor Karen, in the message to Uprising, your email today said that she was brought to Samuel 8:19 through 22, but the people refused to listen to Samuel. No, they said, we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles. When Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. And the Lord answered, listen to them and give them a king. And so, you know, when the people spoke, and
Careful
that's
what you
right out
wish
of the
for.
Bible, folks.
Yeah.
The Old
Yeah,
Testament.
they regretted that decision, didn't they? Yeah. So that's a good point. That's a really good point. Anybody else want to say any words of comfort? To
No, but I think this helped relieve some stress, I think, for me, in knowing that I can talk about this in a safe space. And even if I was on the complete opposite side of the fence, I could have still had your ears and your voices, and you wouldn't seek to, you know, annihilate me as a person because I'm not like you, you know. So thank you for who you are.
that's a beautiful thing to say. Yes, thank you all for being here and participating, and just love to everyone. Kreger, why don't you pray us out?
All right. Holy God, we're grateful for another chance to talk about God at God Talk. And what a conversation this has been about the political realm and the political season. This has been nonstop coverage now for what, 2.5, maybe even 3 years. You know, the talk has been about this election and what's going on. And so I think for us in this, pray for a calmness. We pray for a calm and steady hand and a breath awareness, maybe, that you are breathing us in and out as we go through these next days, no matter what happens. We have to be people of faith. We have to put our faith where our mouth and where our feet and where our hands are. And we have to continue to do that no matter who wins this election. And so we ask for your strength, and we ask for mental health. We ask for less stress as we move forward and deal with all of these topics and all the stuff that's going on. We ask for your guidance. We ask for your love. We ask that your Holy Spirit be inside us every day. All we have to do is call the name Jesus or call the name Holy Spirit, and there it is when we become aware of that next breath. So lead us forward, God. Lead us forward, God, no matter what happens. And we ask all this in the holy name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right.
Thank you, beloved. I love you all.
See you guys next week. Bye
Okay, Kim, find your voice. Yes.
bye.
Toodaloos.